Good evening, brothers and sisters of the beloved community. We are indeed delighted to have you all with us. I am Reverend Sandrea Tober, the Executive Director here at Scarritt Bennett Center. And it is such a delight to have you here on the historic campus of Scarritt. Because it's probably some of you all's first time tuning in, because we are live at this moment, or being on campus, we most certainly want to let you know that you are in the spot where two individuals integrated Scarritt College. First, predominantly white institution in Tennessee to integrate with two women in 1952. 1952, well beyond Brown versus Board of Education, well beyond everyone else. And those names are Delaris Johnson and Leela Robinson. So we start this program of her story, Women of Faith, legacy in her hands, continuing the dream with lifting up those two names. Because how dare we not come into this space without recognizing those that have gone before us. So today we gather not only in remembrance of history, but to respond to it. We gather in this space as co-creators of justice. A player here at Scarritt, a place that embodies faith and justice, where courage is cultivated, where women have long been trusted with shaping the moral consciousness of our world. It is in this very space, in 1957, that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King spoke in historic Whiteman Chapel when he was denied the ability to do so across the street at Vanderbilt. So what better way to kick off Martin Luther King Day celebrations than here at historic Scarritt Bennett Center? This is, yes. It is because that Scarritt understood then, as well as now, that justice does not wait for permission. So legacy in our hands as we gather you here today is for us to have this sacred conversation, if you will, to answer a question God asked long ago. He asked it to Moses. I believe, Reverend Dr. Cummings, it was in Exodus 4:2 that he asked him, "What's in your hand?" So here today, we not only are calling you in to listen to what's in their hands, but also to lean in to discern what's in your hands. As we have this dialogue today, we want you to know that you too have some things in your hands. That God doesn't want you to wait to acquire more power, that God activates what you already have. That justice doesn't begin with availability, but justice begins with you activating what you already have. So, legacy in her hands today, we want you to make sure that you use your tools of faith and wisdom and compassion and give voice and strategy and love to what's already present among us. We want you to use what's in your hands to organize communities that feed children. Use what's in your hands to write policies, to preach truth, to heal wounds, and to build institutions. We want you to use what's in your hands, to refuse to give in to the despair of this world. What's in her hands? The very woman that made sure that the legacy of her husband continued. The wife of Dr. Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King, said this: freedom is never really won. You earn it and you win it with every generation. So today there's this intergenerational conversation that's about to happen with Reverend Doctor, I always want to call her doctor because I'm speaking some things into existence. Kelly X, I've been speaking it into existence. It's going to come to fruition. In conversation with Reverend Haddix, in conversation with our trailblazer, Glory McKissick, in conversation with our youngster, Diamond Bell, who's making a splash in the Nashville community. Here, we want to make sure that we discern this moment that is marked by militarism in American streets and by child hunger and by the misuse of the concentration of power and by the fear of masquerading around as policy. And yet, God still asks the question, what is in your hand? Now, what is it that's missing? What is it that you wish you had? What is it that you think you already don't carry? I want you to know that it's already in your hands. And hopefully today, after this conversation, that they have been walking out with what's already in their hands, that you too will begin to ask, what gifts am I holding? What influence do I have to steward? What courage is required of me now? And what responsibility that I can no longer delay? So, this is not just a conversation, this is a call to action. A call to action to service, a call to action to use your voice, a call to action to use your resources, a call to action to build relationships, and a call to action to activate your faith. Because here at Scarritt Bennett, we have this intersection of faith and justice. And so we want you to understand that legacy does not live in monuments, it lives in obedient hands. We welcome you to Legacy in Her Hands. So, once more, what's in your hand? Welcome to Scarritt Bennett Center.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Jones, and I will be performing a poem called Women of Faith. She rises before the dawn, not because the road is easy, but because she trusts the path that meets her when she prays. Faith is stitched into her footsteps, quiet as the breath strong as stone. She carries hope, trembling hands, and offers it freely. She believes when answered are slow, when doors close without warning, when the world asks her to be smaller, yet God calls her to stand. Her faith is not loud, but it's steady. It lives in her hopes. Given in tears, turned into a testimony, she knows strength can kneel, that courage can weep, that forgiving often looks like choosing hope again. Women of faith do not walk alone. They walk with purpose, with promise, and with the God who sees them fully and calls them beloved. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adriana Willis, and I am the chairperson for the Youth and Young Adult Ambassadors for the MLK Week of Events Nashville. I have been given the wonderful task of introducing our wonderful panelists, all the way from Miss Diamond Bell to Miss Gloria McKissick to Miss Alicia Haddock. And it will be facilitated by Reverend Dr. Miss Kelly X. Now, before I introduce them, I would like to say something. Women of faith is something that we should not be taken for granted. The Bible says that faith without works is dead, and also that faith is the substance of all things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And even though we go through life thinking, oh, we don't know what's coming next, you must know that your faith is what's going to stand you, and it is your faith that is going to keep you, and it is your faith that should abide in you so that you will be able to stand one and all together. You should be able to stand in your Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I did not come here to preach, so I'm going to get to what I have to do right now, starting with our wonderful, amazing Miss Diamond Bell. Now, Diamond Bell was born and raised right here in her own state and city, Nashville, Tennessee. She is a proud graduate of Pearl Cone High School, and she studied at Trevecca Nazarene University. Diamond's purpose became clear early on: to serve and uplift her community with love, respect, and passion. Her commitment to justice and equity has sparked in part by witnessing the dismantling of homelessness encampments across Nashville, an act that deeply affects her. But her drive to fight for others is rooted even deeper in her own life experiences. Raised by a single mother, I have to pause right there. I have to do something. I want to acknowledge my single mother, my mom, Miss, well, actually, not even Miss. She doesn't like when I do this, but the Reverend Dr. Deborah E. Willis. Stand up. That is my mother, y'all. So everything I know came from her. Just had to make that clear. So, Diamond Bell was raised by a single mother, and having lost her father at a young age, Diamond knows firsthand the challenges that come with growing up in a family facing economic hardship. By middle school, she experienced displacement and homelessness herself. Those experiences shaped her understanding of systematic injustice and lit a fire in her to use her to organize systematic change. In the fall of 2021, Diamond began her work in politics and community organizing, becoming an organizer with Stand Up Nashville. She takes the most pride in the work she led with displaced residents. Her organizing work included canvassing neighborhoods, organizing resource events, and connecting families to legal aid and critical support systems. Now serving as youth coordinator, she brings bold empathy, lived experience, and unwavering dedication to creating an equitable Nashville. As Diamond puts it herself, she says, I give back not because I have a lot to give, but because I know what it's like to be counted out and looked over. And that is Miss Diamond Bell. Now, we can't start to the young and just stop there. We got to keep going. So now we're going on to Reverend Alicia Haddock. Now, Reverend Haddock is a preacher, a community strategist, and justice advocate, most recently named a National Business Journal Leaders in Diversity honoree. That was a lot to say. She serves as co-pastor of Christian Journey Fellowship Church, Nashville, Tennessee, where her ministry in the gospel of Jesus Christ uplifts the underserved, challenges systematic injustice, and fosters communities of radical love, equity, and liberation. Beyond the pulpit, Reverend Haddock is a respected nonprofit executive and community leader. As executive director of Neighbor to Neighbor, she strengthens Nashville's neighborhoods by cultivating grassroots leadership and advancing initiatives of affordable housing. Now, she also, let's make this clear, she also does economic empowerment and also public safety. With decades of experience, she has mobilized millions in funding, expanded programs serving thousands, and led disaster recovery efforts, including Nashville's 2020 tornado response. A champion for accountability and transformational justice, Reverend Haddock is a former chair and current member of the Nashville Community Review Board, ensuring police accountability, which we do need, and chairs the Transformational Justice Task Force of Nashville, Organized for Hope and Action, also commonly known as NOAA. She also lends her leadership to Corner to Corner. Also, We Are Awake, AWAKE, not the word, the abbreviation, Nashville, and the Vanderbilt Memory and Alzheimer's Community Center Advisory Committee. A third generation preacher and second generation Belmont University graduate, Reverend Haddock is a proud native of North Nashville. She is married to Todd M. Haddock L., and together they are raising their son, Micah. Whether preaching, leading, or organizing, she remains steadfast in her calling to build a more equitable and passionate local and global community where all people can thrive. And that is Reverend Alicia Haddock. Now we started with the present. We went a little bit back. Now we got to take it all the way back and mostly remember some of the people, most importantly, the one who is before us now, who was able to pave the way to where we are able to stand where we are right now. Now, Miss Gloria McKissick is a star among stars in several arenas. A native of Detroit, Michigan, she came to Nashville to attend Tennessee AI, also known now as Tennessee State University. And her life as she knew it changed forever. She was recruited to participate in the Nashville Lunch Counter sit-ins, freedom riders expelled from Tennessee AI. And I also, again, I gotta make another pause. I am a student from American Baptist College, and we did start the Nashville Synod, so that is why Miss Gloria's presence is such an honor for me, because I am in the midst of a greatness from my own school. So I had to say that. Now, she participated in the fight for change, the act of equality that would change the world forever. After graduation, she became a teacher in the Metropolitan Nashville public school system. She continued her fight for equality in the classroom and the community and was among the first Black teachers at West End Middle School. At Hume Fogg, she developed curriculum guidelines for metro schools on Black history and Martin Luther King's nonviolent philosophy, and wrote the first curriculum for Black studies for metro schools. She infused Black history and civil rights activities into her classes. Additionally, she has been a model and an active force with the William Edmondson Home Activities, among other activities. In 2021, she received a Lifetime Achievement Award from President Joe Biden, recognizing her for her activities to change the world for the better. And that is Miss Gloria McKissick. Now, I will turn it over to Reverend Dr. Kelly X.
Thank you so much, Adriana. I really appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon for this time but we will have together with these legends and legends in the making. I am so thankful for this opportunity to be here. I am the Director of Racial Justice Ministries here at Scarritt Bennett Center, and I am just ecstatic that you all decided to join us for the opening of IMF's MLK Day week of events in honor of the legacy, life, and the labor of Martin Luther King Jr. The Women of Faith panel sets the moral and spiritual tone for the week that honors the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Our thing, Legacy in Her Hands, Women of Faith Keeping the Dream Alive, reminds us that faith and justice aren't inherited automatically. They are chosen, practiced, and carried out. Justice is something that we have to work to maintain. We don't get to a place and stay there. We have to hold tight and continue to work toward it. And across generations, women of faith have held the dream of beloved community in our hands. And even when the world resisted, distorted it, or tried to destroy it, we continue to hold on and build towards that. And Gloria McKissick, Alicia Haddock, and Diamond Bell, we witnessed a living continuum of movement to ministry, of memory to imagination, and calling us to decide how will we carry the dream forward. And so thank you all for joining me on today. And I want to start us, this question is for each of you. The first question I have is, when you hear the phrase legacy in her hands, what does it stir in you spiritually and personally? And whose legacy are you carrying? And who are you carrying it for? I'll let you all decide.
Testing.
There you go.
Testing. All right, first I want to thank the staff and committee at Scarritt Bennett for
Okay.
no, not gonna-
But we got to push the button one more time. There we go. Okay, we should be
all
good.
right. Well, I'm a 47-year teacher. I can project without this
Yes,
if
ma'am.
I have to. I know how to yell, so I'm trying to, you know, stay somewhere there. But anyway, I was thanking Scarritt Bennett for inviting me here today. I made a commitment before I made a bad fall to put me in rehab, and I'm still in rehab, but I'm here.
That's right.
And my faith made that possible.
Yeah.
Everything in my life is based on my faith. It's in my hands.
Yeah.
I understand that. And but being faith based, all of us may feel we have faith, and you do, but we don't all have our faith tested. Maybe death will test your faith, the death of a parent or a child or something of that nature. Sickness is a test of faith that you'll get well, and things like that. But I'm talking about a different kind of test
Yeah.
when you are confronted by an angry crowd of people who want to hurt you, maybe even kill you. That's when you really get a test of faith. Can I get through this? Do I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior and He will help me out of this? That's your real test of faith. And some of you will never have that test, and you don't want to have it if you can avoid it. But I had my faith tested many a times and stood strong because I was raised faith based. As a little child, I joined, when I was in the first grade, I joined the church. Doesn't matter which church, I won't even say the denomination. Um, as a child, and I was confirmed, which means I had a certain amount of training, and they brought me into the church. And everything the church had, girls friendly, the choir, or whatever, I was a part of it. I grew up with that. So I had faith. So when I was eight, I may not be answering this question. You know, I may be, I'm a professor and I can roll off into something else very easily. But when I was 18 years old, I want to relate this to Dr. King. Um, my faith was tested in the sit-ins, and I had to do what Dr. King preached, not to hate, but to love.
Yeah.
That's a choice. And to turn the other cheek. And I used to watch him on television. I was 18 years old, and as I watched him and the strength he demonstrated and the courage, I was slowly even being more indoctrinated into a way of thinking and into a way of action. Because you have faith, you have vision, then you have action you want to take, commitment. That's what Dr. King, he developed a philosophy of thinking that's based on Gandhi, you may know that, and Thoreau, and of course, Jesus Christ. And his philosophy was based on 6 steps that I don't know that we had time for me to go through them, but the 6 steps to conflict resolution that came from Dr. King. And I learned that and I taught that, and he was my guide, he was my idol, and I had deep faith that I was being protected every time I was confronted by hostility. I knew I was going to be all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Thanks. That's good. That's good.
When I think about legacy in her hands, not only do I think about the women who came before me, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, women in the community, I think about women who have been in the struggle. So the legacy is something that isn't light, right? Because we like to carry things that won't weigh us down, and it's easy to carry. But the legacy that I think about when we're talking about today, legacy in our hands, women of faith, keeping the dream alive, and keeping Dr. King in mind, I'm thinking about a legacy that is heavy, right? And so listening to Miss McKissick, it couldn't have been light, right? And so how do we carry a legacy that sometimes feels like it gets too heavy to carry, right? Or even realizing the legacy that we carry um, uh, feels like it's getting heavier, depending on who you are, what color you are, right? Where you live, the zip code you live in. And so I think about that, the legacy not being something that is just sitting there that we can just shine up and it's real pretty because we want people to see how great our legacy is. I'm thinking about a legacy that's hard, that was born in struggle, that is living and breathing, that the legacy that will keep living, right? And not the one that we pass down because it's tied to money, right? Or that financial kind of legacy that we all want to leave our children. The legacy that I'm thinking about is the one that continues the story, right? Our ongoing legacy, not just something that we want to be true, but a legacy that is true, right? That continues the fight, and continues to tell the truth, and continues to confront injustices, continues to shape a story and a people who are resilient, that knows what it's like to be born in a community like North Nashville and then question, can anything good come out of it? Right? That type of legacy we want to make sure not only carries on, but people understand what they have. I know, thinking about uh, uh, someone like Miss McKissick and growing up with the ability to see what Dr. King did, right? And not just reading about it. And passing on a legacy of that weight is something that I think we should not take lightly, but also really build community around what it is. Because I know some people probably think they don't have a legacy to hand down, right? Because it's tied to their financial worth. But the legacy that we carry is invaluable, priceless. And so understanding the seriousness of the legacy, right, is a huge part of how we look at the legacy that we have and that we hold in our hands. So I'm really excited about the title just because I'm thinking about not just what Dr. King has done and biblical figures have done and the women in my life have done. What am I doing?
That's it.
Right? What am I passing down to the younger generation? Right? And how we make sure that we're building community so that legacy stays alive.
Yeah. For me, it's just about me understanding that I do have the control of where my life is headed, what road I'm going down. And so Miss McKissick said earlier that she passed the torch. She had a physical torch. She passed the torch. Well, I picked that torch up, right? And so now I'm walking in my steps of leaving a legacy of community, building trust. I have to embody what I want to see in my community. I got to embody the trust. I got to embody accountability, compassion, passion for my people. So when you say who I'm leaving a legacy for or who I'm carrying it for, I'm carrying it for the Breonna Taylors, for the Sandra Blands. I'm carrying it for Delisha Porterfield, who's an at-large councilman out here that's really doing real work on the ground for our people. I'm carrying it for the Miss McKissicks and the Alicia Haddocks and the Marleys. Like these things, it didn't stop then, and it's not stopping. That might have changed a little bit, but it didn't stop. So that's why the legacy got to keep going. I know where I'm headed. I also know where I came from. I know that it's not hard. I mean, that it's not easy. I know that it's hard. But that's why I'm here. I'm prepared for it. That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. Yes. So I have a question for you, Miss McKissick. Um, and you began to speak to it already about how you put your body on the line, and during those Nashville sit-ins, uh, that were that were Tennessee A&I, that was American Baptist College students. Those were students from Fisk. There were some students even from Scarritt College that participated in those sit-ins. Students across the city getting together because they understood that they needed to do what needed to be done. And I'm wondering what helps sustain your faith across seasons of backlash, because you were in that moment then and you all did this work that was able to then, after being expelled, getting back in school, doing what needs to do, and then became an educator for decades. And we know, and we've experienced, I think for my generation, I was one who never thought that we would get a black president, and we got a black president. And to a certain extent, so much of what we experience now is because we had that black president. So much of that pushback. But I know that what I'm experiencing is nothing compared to what what you and my grandparents, my great grandparents, the sharecroppers, those who were I'm 2 generations out of enslavement. And so I know that there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. Can you talk to us really about like how to sustain faith in the midst of the ups and downs that are part of this justice struggle?
All right. That's a long question.
I know. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I set you up. Yeah, you're gonna go there. There we go. Yeah.
All right. But I keep hearing in what you said backlash, backlash. You can look at the news today and it's backlash. What's happening in Minnesota and other places, we see that as backlash. Excuse me, but your President Trump is backlash.
Yes, he is. Yes.
But you know what? Being faith based is not backlash. Because every step back is encouragement to make a step forward.
Yeah.
You fall down, you get up. That's your answer to all of that. There is no backlash. And we have to move forward. We have to be proactive. And we don't lay down the torch. I passed the torch some years ago for the MLK march. Led the march and gave the keynote address at Tennessee State University. Now I'm on the beginning program. What goes around comes around. And guess what? I plan to be around. But anyway, there's no backlash to all of that. You have to think positive all the time. You have to think we can win. You have to think that there will be a tomorrow. You have to have faith. And the faith is being tested all the time. Don't accept these negative, responses. They trying to take Black history and all kind of history out of the schools that I spent a lifetime putting in the schools, writing those curriculum courses and things for Metro teachers and giving in service, and now they want to take them back. I guess if I was teaching today, they'd try to throw me out the classroom. You heard me, I said they try to throw me out the classroom. And I wish I could do something more than what I'm doing now, but teaching the legacy and passing it on is important, for the young people to do what needs to be done, but to keep the faith, like Jesse Jackson said, keep hope alive. And you got to do that. You got to do that. Don't let all that defeat you. What you see and hear. There is a tomorrow. Amen. I don't know if we'll have another Obama, or we may have Obama, but it will get better, but you have to be vigilant. You have to be on the cutting edge. You have to can't, as John said, and I love John Lewis, he was the head of our youth group, the Student Nonviolent Coordinator Committee, when I was a teenager. We both were teenagers. And he said, when you see something, what? Say something. I say something, but do something. It's easy to sit and complain and all that stuff, but you have to take action against what's going on. You have to have a vision and believe in that vision and put that vision into action and make a commitment a nonviolent commitment to do something about it. You know, Dr. King identified over 200 nonviolent actions you can take instead of being violent. One important one is to vote. Yes, and there are many more, you know, and you have to use those diligently. Don't just see something, say something, then do something. And you can't do something about everything that's going on. You'd be overburdened, but you can pick something. You can pick something to focus on to make a difference. And to focus on something means being committed. And commitment is tied to faith. It's tied to faith. And sometimes commitment means struggle and sacrifice. Just think about Dr. King. He was committed and sacrificed his life, and there were many, many others. And now in Nashville, we formed the Nashville Civil Rights Veterans Association. And part of our job is to go, it was to go around to the schools, passing on the legacy and making sure that young people, you know, had drive and commitment and, you know, who we were and all that. But just about, can't see that, darling. Every time you turn around, one of us is passing on. There are not too many of us left. And it used to be quite a few. And one by one, we're leaving here. And so I'm here today, and anytime I can show up at a school or church or anything like that, I will be willing to be there and share my story.
We've been playing. We good. He don't want me to talk too much. Now your ministry shows up in housing justice and civic accountability. How do you understand faith to be a tool for structural transformation? Not just, I think when we think about faith, we think about faith, or we're taught that faith is about personal transformation. Can you talk about faith being a structural, helping structural transformation in the community space when it comes to housing and civic change and accountability?
Yeah, faith is very personal. It is. It's personal, but it's not private. So I understand that my faith is what drives me to speak truth to power, right? When we're talking about systemic injustices, it's not enough for me to be sad when I wake up and it's the law that I can't go and get quality health care, right? My faith has to speak to that. So my faith is, I always say that my faith is political, right? Everybody talks about partisan and nonpartisan, and you know what side of the aisle will you be on? But when I say my faith is political, if if it determines if my well-being is determined by the zip code I live in, then my faith is political, right? If it is law that I can't get proper reproductive health care, then my faith is political, right? If my zip code determines the quality of food that I receive, then my faith is political. And so my faith is what drives me to action, right? And it informs the commitment to the work of systemic injustices that divide us and keep us down, and liberation is hard to find. It's my faith. right? And so a lot of times we think that our faith is so personal that we have to keep it in our heart, right? And that's true. As faith is something that you do keep close to you, right? But your faith has to also speak, right? It has to act, it has to move, it has to be in community with people. And so I think the whole aspect of how we examine our faith, like I said, we tie it to a lot of the economic abilities that we have and not the laws that we are subject to, right? And so, how do we continue to build a faith that speaks and acts and is not afraid to tell the truth? Yeah, I tell the truth. Speaking truth, I know a lot of times people think I tell somebody off, right? Your faith is, how bad you are is about how many people you can curse out. It's really not, y'all. What it says is, can you stand and speak truth to power, right? And will your faith cost you something? See, a lot of times our faith won't, as long as it don't cost us anything, we're okay with it. But what if your faith costs you proximity to power? Would you still exercise it? Will your faith cost you being in the club that you've always wanted to be in, right? Because you have now spoken truth to power, right? And so having the ability to do that and having the courage to do that says everything about the type of faith that you have, the type of faith that you're building, and not just can I rattle something off, but how is your faith speaking up and showing up in your life? And so that's the action. That's how your hands and your feet move, right? Your faith is what controls your hands and your feet, right? And your mouth. Being and having the courage to, like I said, speak truth to power, but ensuring that you're not only speaking for yourself, but you're speaking for your community, right? People who look like you and people who don't look like you. Everything we do and say don't have to mean that because somebody looks like me, then that's the only time I'm gonna speak up. Making sure that that the faith that we obtained, right, from as a Christian from Jesus, it wasn't just about can I facilitate this soup kitchen, right, or this line of soup. What caused you to be hungry? Your faith has to ask questions, right? And so, not just about me finding some soup so you can have something to eat, but why are you hungry? And so, how your faith builds up, right? The courage to do things that you've been called to do. So, I think that's how my faith shows up.
Good. That's good. Thank you so much. I know, you know, one of the things that's so interesting about what happened this week in Minnesota that it was just less than a mile away from where George Floyd had been killed. Now we find Miss Renee, I think it's good finding it, and we don't expect it. It's a sadness that you expect, unfortunately, for a black man to be killed by the police. But the idea that now federal agents would then kill a white woman in public, but the truth is that we are in dealing with such levels of injustice that actually folks don't care. So we have to remind them that everybody's life matters. And we care about all of this and we want to make sure that folks are. And so speaking directly to that thank you so much. Uh Diamond, I have enjoyed every one of our conversations. One of the things I've noticed, because you're in the age group of my children, and so many of you Gen Zers, you all you all are fighting for climate change. You all are out here making you all want justice, and you all have seen a thing. You know what the possibility is, and at the same time, seeing a lot of those possibilities snatched away. And as a result, doing that, also having social media and all of that extraness that comes with no being aware of what's happening at all times, it causes anxiety for folks, and worry around the political violence that is happening. And then at the same time, when you're doing that, it causes a lot of burnout, feeling like, how are we going to even move forward? What keeps you believing that beloved community is still possible?
So right now I'm currently youth coordinator for Southern Movement Committee, or youth organizer for Southern Movement Committee. And what keeps me knowing that change is here and
What's
it's true.
Southern Movement Committee? Tell folks what Southern Movement Committee is.
It's a nonprofit here that's focused on the school to prison pipeline. So making sure that our youth is out of the streets. They do restorative justice programs. We also have a youth assembly where we teach students 14 to 25 about civic engagement, political education. Yeah, just keeping them out the streets. They got too much time on their hands, and they do want change. They do want help. They seeking it. We just got to give it to them because they got a vision too. So yeah, that's what keeps me believing that change can happen. I got 14 and 15 and 16-year-olds that start in Black student unions in their school, right? So we talk about faith. My faith is deeply rooted in my values and in my community. And I'm talking about a belief or having faith without any action behind it. How is it gonna work? So we are, yeah, what is we? Gen Z, Gen X, what you say? Yeah, Gen Z. Yeah.
I'm that we are X over here.
We are creating different pathways for organizing. We coming up with creative ways to do organizing. But as far as burnout, it's real. We all know that it's real. And so just understanding that we can't do everything by ourselves. It is real power in numbers. That's why we have to do everything together. You can't do everything by yourself. And just knowing that I go home every day knowing that at least I helped one person, I'm fine. If I could talk to two people to let you know about some resources, I'm good. I can't help the whole world in one day, but I'm working towards that. That's how I keep the belief in the change. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah. This Before I open it up for questions from the audience, we're going to take just a couple of questions from you all. I have one more cross the board question for you all. Why is it important for Black women in particular to to really work towards keeping this dream that Dr. King had of beloved community alive? What is it in particular for Black women in the role of building and maintaining beloved community?
Yeah, we fought hard. We've been fighting hard. We fought hard then. To vote, to be able to work and be able to get paid the same equal pay as a man. And so then my elders was in the church not just for praying, they was in the church for organizing. They was in the church to feed their kids. We came together to do a thing. And so over the years, it's always been Black women to push us and keep us forward. We always done had the faith. We always done had the vision. So yeah, I think just knowing that what we come from is not the end. This ain't the end of our story, right? So how do we keep it forward? Without feeling like that we do have to hold everything. We are strong, but we don't gotta be strong 24/7 all the time. Yeah. So yeah.
You're gonna make me talk about the strong Black woman syndrome. I'm not though. Okay. Now, what was the question?
Why Black women need to hold up? What are our role as Black women when it comes to beloved community?
Oh, our role is leading, in my opinion. I think if we really just kind of look back to recent history in terms of the civil rights movement, what we are kind of closest to, we see a lot of male participants who were leading, but we don't see a lot of women get the credit for the movement, right? And for moving it forward. We have to dig. We have to kind of introduce Ella Baker as, some phenomena or, anomaly. And but really knowing within ourselves that if it were not for Black women, we would not have had a movement. And so, and still understanding that we are not just participants, but we are architects of movements that we have seen throughout history. Not only have we participated, but we've held up, we've moved forward, we have shaped, we have created. Just think about what we do. Not only do we take care of a house and raise the children, we lead, right, in our communities. And so that's how I continue to look at Black women and women in general, in how we shape history, right? And culture and society. Because what we need more now than ever is a black woman president. I said it. I sure did. And y'all can put it in writing and say that, guess what she said? But I do think we carry and we possess a certain je ne sais quoi that folks are hungry for and starving for, but it's rooted in that strong black woman syndrome because everybody looks to us, right? When it's time to fix something. We have fixed elections, and not in a bad way, right? We've held them up. We've made sure that whoever needs to get in office, they got in office. That the right leadership was at the helm because we pushed, we worked, we made sure it happened, just like we did in our homes. And so that's how I look at Black women and what we've done, but also what we're doing and what we will continue to do. And so to look at the young ladies who are involved in the panel today, that gives me hope. It gives me hope that Adriana can introduce somebody like me and make me sound like somebody, you know. And Diamond can organize in Nashville and move communities, right? And we have a little poet laureate in the house and making sure that these things don't die, that they keep living on. So we continue to build each other up, right? We don't always have to agree on everything, but I tell you what, we won't tear each other down. And so that's how I look at Black women and what we are moving forward.
Okay, when I think of black women, I think of the black mother, because you're probably a mother first and foremost in your lifetime. And as a mother, you raise not only black women to follow in the footsteps you like them to follow in, and I'm gonna come back to that, but you also raise young men, and that's so important, and it might be in a single family home, and they may not have that black male leadership role model. Help them find one. Help them with that. Black men, black boys become black men, and they'll be the right kind of man if you raise them right. Start in the church so they can start building faith. Okay? Religious based young men instead of being in the street. Let me tell you a little story related to black women in the role they play in my own life, something I've done as an activist. I belong to an organization here that was into fundraising, and every year we would sort of debate about who we would give our funds to. And I always say God's guided me to do this. He's guided me to do many things. And I was in my yard one day. My club members, some of them are here. They've heard me tell this story before. And working in my garden, and some young women came running down the street, turning around and quirking. You know what I mean? Twerking, twerking. So they had a following. Young black males, of course, follow that kind of action. That's why they do that. And that's why they end up with the kind of men they end up with and wonder why. That's how they got them. And I said, that's a shame And I knew I needed to try to do something. I saw something, what did I say earlier? Say something. I didn't say nothing to them. But I went back and I said something to my club members. Yeah. We need to do something. Mm-hmm. And long story short, we started lighting the path for girls. And we guide young girls into being young women and have activities for them all year long, and end up when they have finished the program, we give them scholarships. Yeah. They don't have to have a certain grade point average. We just want them to finish school and not fall through the cracks. Yeah. In fact, the first girls were from the Edge Hill Projects, and we focused on them. And now we just take girls, period, because you can be middle class or whatever and still fall through the cracks, get pregnant or whatever. We try to help them avoid all that. And so, and somebody has asked me, well, why don't you have a group for the young men? I said, look, we can't save everybody, but if we train the young women right, then they can what? Their mothers, they will train the young men. That's good. That's good. To do better than run down the street doing what? All right, we can do better. So, being a lifetime activist. Yes, it. And seeing the role that women play. And I don't have children of my own, but I have a lot of children, 47 years in teaching, and they still come back to me and say, thank you for being strict on me. Sometimes I thought you were mean, but you weren't mean. I love you, Miss McKissick. And I say, in fact, I said it to somebody today. Befriend me on Facebook. And we can keep this conversation going. That's good. So you have a role to play, whether you're young, old, with or without children. They need us, and especially us as women, to love and to nurture them is very significant. So I challenge you. I guess we're about ending with me. I see you creeping up on me. Just going to get the microphone. So I challenge you, audience, pick something to make a difference in, make it your cause. Pick a child, your own child, or somebody else's child, and make a difference in their life as women. And one by one, day by day, we can change the world and help create Dr. King's beloved community.
I think we have time for like 2 questions. Anybody got? And I'm asking for questions, not comments.
It's on. Is it on? Yeah, okay. I'm Reverend Marie King with C. Hubbard United Methodist. And my friend, Reverend Alicia, uh, thank you for being here. I wanted to ask you, when you are preaching, how would you share a message that would be different from what our male clergy would share on this topic of what we're talking about in our legacy? What is different that would come out of the mouth of a female preacher? That's what.
How long do I have? It's a lot different. I think I'll take for an example, Marie. Hey, Marie. Hey. For an example, I will say the message I preached this morning, a call to courage, a courage to act, and it was in honor of Dr. King, right? It was my King message, but it was out of Esther 4:16, right? And it was shaped around what she did and the risk that she took, right, in order to build and keep beloved community and stand up against state sanctioned violence, right? Because I mean, I think a lot of times we think it is just the way things are because we're black or because we are a woman. But what the difference is within the message is making sure that people are seen, right? And so we're not just centering this message on men because it was Dr. King's dream. It was more or less about a woman who had a prescription, right? She said, fast, gather the people, right? Fast. And then I'll fast. And I'll go in, and then if I perish, I perish. There was a cost to this, right? And understanding that as women, the work that we do, there's a cost to it, right? It's not just in the hands of a man. And we get to instruct how people move as well. And so I think that is primarily the message. But I hope the men in the congregation did see themselves in the message as well. But it was really being unapologetically a black woman, right? So I'm not trying to appear as a man when I'm standing in the pulpit. I need you to see me in my womanhood, right? And how I preach and how I look, right? With my red lipstick on and my beret and my heels. And so, but it starts with the message and making sure people in the biblical stories are seen, right? Everybody needs to be seen and understand that they have worth, right? Even if the message has nothing to do with a black woman, I need the people listening and the people in the congregation to know that Jesus thought about them, right? And this gospel is shaped. And God, as an architect of it, had them in mind, right? When we were presented a gospel and a faith that was something that you have to hold on to. I know a lot of times we see a lot that's going on, and we will have people will have us believe that all we're relegated to is a dress, right, and controversy, right, and not the fact that folks have raised millions of dollars for children to go to college, but they'll have us fooled and making us think that we should focus on what you look like and your dress. And so that's the difference, right? And in how I present the gospel to the congregation, just making sure people understand what's important.
Thank you to the panel of Reverend Dr. Judy Cummings. Tracy Hersey, in her book Rest as Resistance, talks about being on the front lines of justice and the work. And you mentioned earlier, Reverend Haddock, the trope of the strong black woman. And so we find ourselves out on the front lines of justice doing the work. How do you, in doing the work of justice, what do you do to ensure that you get the rest that you need so that then you can come back out to do the work?
For me, I'm a very family oriented person, but I'm deeply into my career. I'm deeply into what I'm doing. So I read, I sleep. I get a lot of sleep. I love to sleep. Like, but yeah, I'm around my people. So I keep myself around folks that reminds me of why I do what I do. So I think just keeping on. I think just keeping on. It's more about understanding that yeah, I do need rest and like I do have to take a chill pill sometimes. But in the thought of like burnout, if Miss McKissick fell into her burnout, we probably wouldn't be here. We probably wouldn't, if she wouldn't have got as far. You know what I mean? If I lean into that, and I let that defeat me, I wouldn't be here. We working against a system that was built against us on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how I keep going. So yeah, I rest, I read, I'm around folks to remind me. The youth is what keep me going. They show me that they have a vision. They really show me that there's so much more to this world. So yeah, I think if I'm answering the question right, that's what I would say.
I'm gonna lean into this question. This question. I create systems of rest. And I create time of rest. And so when I say create systems of rest, literally working to within the church that I pastor, that we are paying attention to what leadership is doing, how many years you own and when you are off. And making you sit. I'm sorry, but sometimes you gotta look at people and making them sit down when they're doing too much. I don't know, maybe writing a dissertation. I don't know, but to make sure that you have that time. So what that means for me, it sounds really odd, is that I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go work out at 5, so that I can have enough energy to go throughout my day, and then also so that I can be good and tired and go to bed at night. I don't Because sleep is important to the process of rest. And then also what it is, and I know that that Miss McKissick can speak to this, is also training other people to be able to do what I do, so that I'm not the only person. And so what happens is what happens so often, and I experienced this summer after having surgery, was like, well, how the church gonna run? Turns out they know how to do it. Turns out, because the truth is folks will run you to death and then just hire somebody else. They will. They will. Your job, you think they tell you they need you? You need. But something happens so instead of allowing that to happen to me, creating space to make sure that I am taking care of myself, that I'm sleeping, that I am eating, that I am exercising, that I take vacation, that I want to say this. I don't I can say yes to everything, but I have to make sure, why am I saying yes? Because sometimes my yes has been about making sure that folks know that I can do a thing, and that my value is not in what I produce, because the system was created in our production. As Black folks, brought us here to produce and to reproduce. We're about here to produce and to reproduce. And so then we think, how many degrees can I get? How many organizations am I a part of? What committee am I on? I'm on this. Do they see me? Know it? And then I'm doing things because I want to be seen. And then I have to, oh, wait a minute now. My value is not in what I do. My value is in who I am and who God has created me to be. And when I know my value is in who I am and who God has created it to me to be, then I can then choose to do the things that bring me joy and that push justice forward. And if I'm just showing up to do it, but if we're pushing this thing forward and it lays into my values, and it still allows me to get some sleep at night, then I can say yes. And if it doesn't, I know somebody else who can do it. I know a sister who can pray down. I know someone who can preach a thing, and I know who can organize. So I know someone else. I got some brothers too. I can send them that way, so that we can all have this work. And then that struggle that we talked about at the beginning gets a little bit lighter, so that because we share that. Yeah.
I'm in fire mode, y'all.
Come on,
So I'm trying to get there.
No,
I'm trying to get
but I
there,
appreciate.
but I'm on a go
you're
right
in your
now.
20s, and I'm
Yes.
I'm leaving my 40s.
That's
So
what
now
it
I'm
is. That's what
I
it
just
is.
wanna.
Well, I'm in my 80s.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a different perspective on all of this. That's wonderful what you get up and do. That's wonderful what you get up and do. And I don't know what you were going to say, but I know it was something about action.
Yeah.
But when you're my age,
Mm-hmm.
you're just thankful that you get up.
That's it.
So honest to God, before I even open my eyes, I'm laying there praying to God.
Amen. Amen.
And
Amen.
saying, Jesus, thank you. that I can open my eyes
That's
today
good.
so I
That's
can
good.
do something,
Mhm.
be an activist, or whatever I'm trying to accomplish. Help me to do what I need to do. It's Scarritt Bennett today. Jesus, help me. So I do that.
Yeah.
I praise the Lord and I ask Him to forgive me for my sins, known and unknown. I never leave that out because sometimes, well, we know what we do. We know what we do and what we say and what we think, and it's wrong. I ask the Lord to forgive me and to help guide me on my day. Let me walk in Jesus' footsteps,
That's good.
doing the right thing. And then I opened my eyes and I said, "Ooh, I'm here." And then my day will begin. And you have to have my New Year's resolution this year was WIN. Win.
Mhm.
That whatever I do, I'm going to win over this handicap I have right now. I can't walk, but I will because
Yeah.
I'm going to win.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm not going to let nothing hold me back.
That's good.
Let's win this
That's
year.
win. That's win. That's good. And so one just one question I have for the panel as we wrap up. Thank you, Adriana. We're good. Is if you could offer, could I want you to offer one word of blessing or encouragement, instruction to to the audience, that will keep us motivated in the work of justice that is before us. Well, you can give us more than one word. She or a word in the like
Well, I just go back to what I was saying in the beginning. You have to have faith. Okay, I'll put it in a phrase. No matter what you do, keep God in your life, and you'll be all right.
I would say understand and know that like small wins matter. That they definitely matter. I've been fighting a lot of different campaigns against corporations and developers, and if I would have just gave up because we lost a big win, I wouldn't be here now. And then also for the youth, our lived experiences are knowledge. You can't tell me where I came from and how to say it. Um, and so I think just knowing to have confidence and be strong in what you say. I had imposter syndrome when I started working in government politics. Not no, even now I'm sitting here like, am I saying it right? Do I sound good? Do I sound smart? You feel me? So it's more of just like having that full confidence in yourself, and also let's keep making different strategies and different things for organizing. We don't have to keep the same pattern going. We don't have to just canvas and phone bank. We can go. Where's my people at? They at Link. They at the clubs. They at the lounges. We got to get there, right? So it's just about making it fun while also knowing that we got a lot to do. It's a lot of change to happen, but we can do it. Like I said, it's power in numbers. So just keep that mindset and keep that confidence that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
Can you feel her youthful energy? I feel it.
I guess I would just leave the audience with stay in the ring. We gotta keep fighting. We get tired, but fight for 5 more minutes, right? You just need 5 more minutes to fight. We have to stay in the ring. Because they there, right? Not only are they gonna stay in the ring, they own the boxing ring, the venue, and whatever. But I want to say, stay in the fight. Even when we're tired, we got a tag team. Somebody like Kelly was saying, we have to stay in the fight. And if we can hang on just 5 more minutes, God will be pleased. We got to hold on. And so if we can stay in the fight, I think we will be all right.
Good. Thank you all so much. Oh my goodness, this has been such a great conversation, and I really thank you for bringing your wisdom to us today. We really appreciate you willing your continued fight to win. It is inspirational for sure, for sure. And so at this time, I would like to invite up our chairwoman for the MLK Day week to share remarks.
Let's give these ladies another round of applause. Yes. Thank you all for being here today. As we come to a close of this powerful Women of Faith panel, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to our panelists for their wisdom, vulnerability, and unwavering commitment to faith in action. Your voices reminded us that faith is not passive. It is courageous, it is disciplined, and it is transformative. Today, we are reminded that women of faith have always been at the heart of the movement for justice, healing, and hope. From the church pews to the boardrooms, from the community organizing to quiet moments of prayer, women of faith have carried generations forward with strength, grace, and purpose. As we leave this space today, may we carry these conversations beyond today. May we commit to supporting one another, uplifting one another, and standing firm in our calling to serve with compassion and courage. Let us continue to honor Dr. King's legacy by ensuring that our faith fuels action and our action reflects love. I want to invite you all to the week of events that we're having here. This was the kickoff, and it was an amazing kickoff. Next up, we have our midweek worship service. It will be at Lee Chapel AME Church at 6:30. That's January 14th. Followed by our MLK Gala. The purpose of the gala is to raise money so our youth will have funds to go to our HBCUs here locally. It's very expensive, y'all. And we do this work. We've raised over $45,000 so far that has gone right back to our students. And we want to continue to be able to do that. So all the proceeds from the gala go directly to that fund. Then on Saturday, we have a leadership opportunity for our youth. We have to continue to train up our youth because they are here, are now, and our future. So our youth symposium will take place from 8:30 to 2 p.m. at Martin Luther King Jr. Magnet School. After that, it's the big day. It's the holiday. It'll be official. We'll have our youth rally that's led by our youth ambassadors. You met Adriana. There's another powerhouse of 19 more of them that have been planning over the past few months to make that a success. Please join them and support them. That'll be at 8 o'clock at Jefferson Street, United Methodist. I'm United Methodist. Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist Church. And that'll be at 8 o'clock in the morning. Followed, the youth rally will be the March Down Jefferson Street, the historic March Down Jefferson Street. Please join us. And then we will conclude with the convocation. MLK convocation will be at TSU Gentry Center at 10 a.m. Our keynote speaker this year is Senator London Lamar, and she's going to bring the fire for us all. We hope to see you there. Thank you again to the panelists. Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. Reverend Tadrea was holding it up, and it's up on the screen. And that is to give back to our HBCUs. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.